And we are going to now talk about the wonderful people we have here in the studio today. First, I've got to recognize a gentleman that I've known for so many years and has just done such a great job. And I'm just proud to say I think he thinks I'm a friend.
No question about it. No question about it.
That is right. He is the Chief Judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County, the Honorable Timothy Evans. He serves in the largest of the 24 judicial circuits in Illinois and also one of the largest unified court systems in the world. More than 1 million cases are filed annually in the Circuit Court of Cook County, which serves Cook County 5.1 million residents. Judge Evans oversees the circuit's approximately 400 judges when he assigns throughout the court 10 divisions and 6 geographic districts. He also oversees an annual budget of approximately $240.1 million and approximately 2,738 employees who work in 15 non-judicial offices providing probation and other court-related services. First elected Chief Judge in September of 2001 by unanimous vote of the circuit judges, he was reelected for a second term in September 2004, a third term 2007, a fourth term in 2010, a fifth term in 2013. He'll be reelected as long as he wants to stay there.
I hope you're right, Cliff. I hope you're right.
We'll make sure of that, okay? How are you, sir?
Just fine, Cliff.
Good.
I'm so glad to be here with you.
It is so good to
It's a pleasure,
see you.
man. I just can't figure it out there. You never seem to age. I don't know about.
Oh, you're very kind.
Yeah,
I'll make sure he gets reelected. I will make sure he gets reelected. So we're so pleased to have him here. Also, we have back with us Attorney Lori A. Roper, who is a supervisor and public defender. How are you today?
I am good, Cliff.
Good.
How are you?
Good. What else do we need to say about you?
Well, what you need to say about me is, I am a public servant. Again, I work with the Cook County Public Defender's Office.
Right.
I've been there for about 24 years. I am currently in charge of the problem-solving courts or specialty courts for the Public Defender's Office. Mm-hmm. And one such court is Veterans Treatment Court.
Great. Veterans Treatment Court. Also, we have on our live line calling in Brian Kloss, American Heroes Group Advisory Board. He's a member of our advisory board and former executive director of the John Marshall Law School Veterans Legal Clinic. Brian, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Good.
Thanks for having me on, Cliff. And if I could, I got one brief question. Hearing the ads for the mayoral candidates, why are the citizens of Chicago being denied the opportunity to vote for Cliff Kelly for mayor in this upcoming election?
Dude.
That's on time.
Be a write-in candidate.
Yeah, Tim was just that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, we've got some interesting things going here. I guess one more candidate may not hurt, right?
Yeah.
Finally, I think they finally pared it down.
Down to 14.
14, yeah. Finally pared it down to 14. That's going to be very interesting, what's happening. So let's start off with the Chief Judge. Talk to us.
Well, I'm so pleased to be here.
We're so pleased to have you.
Particularly since I know this particular hour focuses on justice for veterans.
Right.
And people who have served this country and often don't fully realize services that are available to them. We realize that they many times have returned from Afghanistan, Iraq. They have returned with PTSD and other problems that cause them and their families to have additional problems upon their return. Problems that perhaps they did not have before going into the service. And so I want your listening audience to know that we in the court system realize that these problems exist, and many of these problems have surfaced for reasons other than what happens to be the title of the day. For example, somebody might come in having been charged with an offense simply because they had been a veteran, they're homeless, They are without some of the services that they're entitled to, and they don't know that those services are available. So I'm here to say that we have a veterans court. We don't want any veteran who has returned from serving his country to be treated like a criminal. We realize that troubles occur, and we have services for them, services that they may not be aware of. And we've had these services, Cliff, since 2009, but I find that most of our veterans don't simply realize that those services are there. And what I'd like to emphasize today is that we now have these veteran services, veteran courts, in every one of the sections of our county. Not only at 26 in California, and most people know about what we have at 26 in California, but we have a veterans court at the 2nd District, the 3rd District, the 4th District, the 5th District, and the 6th District. Every side of our county. And these services are free to them.
Great.
And if they are charged with an offense, Cliff, we want them to know we recognize the risks that are out there for them. And we serve the highest risks and the highest needs. Many of the veterans courts throughout the country don't deal with veterans getting in trouble with felonies. We do here, because we realize that a person could be charged with a nonviolent felony and be a veteran and still need help and shouldn't be thrown away, shouldn't be pushed out, shouldn't be treated like he hadn't done anything for this country. And so we have these courts, and let me just pause a moment to say that young lady you just introduced, that talented, capable, able lawyer, Lori Roper, she has been there. She supervises the lawyers from the public defender's office who work in our courts, and she's a part of our team. She's a great lawyer, but she's also a team member. And she helps us convince the state's attorney's office that these veterans should not be prosecuted as if they should be thrown away. And she speaks up for them, and she's a part of that team. And I will rush to say that the state's attorney, Kim Fox, has attorneys on the state's attorney's side of the ledger. And so the judge, the public defender, the state's attorney, we work there as a team, along with the probation department personnel, all dedicated to the veteran.
That is great.
And we're going to keep it going.
I just think that's great. Just a few moments ago, I was mentioning to Ernesto that there's a record number of Marines committing suicide. You know, you've got a lot of these people who just don't. And then he showed me something. Ernesto showed. Tell us what you.
I just showed you, Cliff, one of the veterans who was just passed away in Texas, Central Texas, and they have no family members on record. And so they are asking people from the public to attend his funeral. He's going to be laid in rest on this Monday in Texas, and it was just sad. And it says here that no veteran, no veteran should be buried with no one attending.
Nobody there.
Nobody there. So the mayor is asking people to attend his funeral, and some veterans just they lose touch. Sometimes they don't have family, and it's very sad. And sometimes, as Chief Judge said here, they get in trouble. And it's good to see that we do have a program in place here in the county, both for the public defender's office and the state's attorney's office and the judges, of course. And the judges, so it's so important because they go through a lot. I came home 50 years ago from Vietnam, and I did pretty well, but a lot of my friends didn't. I went to my reunion, 40-year reunion from Vietnam, and some of them didn't do too well.
Yeah, I know a lot of them. I've known some folks who didn't do well either.
Yeah. Cliff, if I could, I'd like to just give you a list of some of the problems that these veterans have.
Please.
It's suicidal, yes, but in addition to that, this is from a letter written by a vet who graduated from these courses and programs that I'm talking about in court. And he identified some of the problems that he and his friends faced. Feelings of disconnected from the world, being judged by others, isolation, depression, anxiety, physical pain, emotional pain, guilt, shame, confusion, anger, sleepless nights, nightmares, hyperarousal, dangerous behavior, homicidal ideations, fear of the unknown, fear of being vulnerable, and as my colleague just said, suicidal ideations. And so all of these are on the shoulders of our colleagues when they come back. And this gentleman set out several things. He said, and this is the way he described it, he said, after he no longer put on his combat boots, he said, that's when the hardest part started. This is after he got back.
Right.
Yeah.
After he got back. That's when the help disappeared.
Yeah.
And he went on, he said he discovered the meaning of fear, F-E-A-R. He said, either it means forget everything and run, or face everything and recover. And that's what our court system can help them to do. Face what's up against them and help them to recover.
That's great, Judge Evans. That is wonderful. You know, for the first time, I think I mentioned it on the show, 4th of July, they used to always say, if you are going to use fireworks, watch out for the pets. This time, maybe I've done it before, but I'd never heard it before. They said pets and veterans.
Oh, boy.
Because I know a gentleman, he hears helicopters, he just...
freaks out. Huh?
Yeah, really. So, but that's the great thing that what you're just telling us.
Oh, I think it's a way to realize this is a second chance. We've got to give our veterans a second chance. We don't arrest them and throw them away, lock them up, and act as if everything is normal. No. They have earned the right to a second chance. And programs like this help them to do that. But I also, Cliff, let me just congratulate you and your colleagues who set this program up. I was delivering a speech earlier today to the local NAACP, and some parents were there with their children who were taking exams, you know, for scholarships. And these parents were veterans. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to be on Cliff's show. I said, Cliff has a program on Saturday. They didn't know it. They said, oh, we're going to tune in. We're going to tune in. So you're giving us a chance to multiply the impact of the work that Lori and the lawyers do every day trying to help save them in our courts.
Lori, why don't you go right in? Judge, that's wonderful.
I think we really need to put the Chief Judge's contribution in perspective. The first Veterans Court opened in Buffalo, New York in 2008. And we're saying a year later, under Judge Evans' leadership, we had courts here in Cook County. And between the years of 2012 and on, we were able to expand it to every district. So this, under the leadership of Judge Evans, we're addressing the issues that veterans face in every corner of this county. And it doesn't matter what race, nationality, you know, these veterans, they need help, and the Chief Judge recognized that. And again, we would not have any of these courts if it wasn't for him, Chief Judge Evans. He was a visionary. He opened those courts, and he allows us to get together and decide and work together. You know, he's the focal point. He's, you know, he kind of threw out, the state's attorneys and the public defenders, but we all get together because he gave the space for us to get together, for us to decide that this is something we want as a group. And you cannot applaud the State's Attorney's Office under Kim Fox's leadership enough,
Right.
as well as my office under the leadership of Amy Campanelli. You cannot applaud them enough because, again, this is an adversarial system. Let's be,
Right.
you know, it's adversarial.
I had the state's attorney, I was mentioning to the judge, I had the state's attorney in yesterday in my regular show, and I told her, I said, in her group, I said, let's all understand, there's nothing political about this. And I pulled back my jacket, I had a Kim Fox button on.
I know she loved
Yeah,
it.
she did. She did, yeah. Let me ask you this, Judge. The situation, Laura, how many female veterans come through?
You know, that's really interesting for you to say.
Just hold it. If you can, until we
To say, because interesting enough, we don't get enough women.
That's what I was wondering.
We really don't. Since I've been involved with the Veterans Court, I can count on maybe maybe both hands. I don't believe we've had over 10 women in any of the
Wow.
courts throughout the system.
That's amazing.
Throughout the system, but it might just be because it's very difficult. I mean, it's difficult for men to ask for help, but women, are really, supposed to, a lot of us are jack of all trades, and it's very difficult to recognize.
Well, one of the reasons I ask, and the consular might remember, Pompey, that we had a big discussion here one day, our regular show,
Right.
about women in combat. And I was very vociferous about saying women should be in combat. Women will kick your ass.
That's for sure.
So one thing, mess with the offspring of any species. You know what I mean?
And see what happens, right?
Mama bear will take you out. So because I have known women who served, and I was just wondering, maybe they just deal with it better.
I don't know. But let me ask you, how does it work specifically? If a veteran is charged with a misdemeanor or a felony, what have you, do they ask for, do they say, I'm a veteran, and someone from your department, Lori, comes over? So let's say they don't have an attorney and they have a public defender. Is there some special consideration given to veterans, or how does that work?
It's a couple of avenues. The main avenue is, because again, if this person is charged with a felony or misdemeanor, they're going to come through bond court. And the one great thing that the State's Attorney's Office does is that they have lawyers there that are looking for specific things to kind of alert them that this person belongs in this particular court. Because we have several different kind of courts. But also, the one thing is that if the veteran self-identifies up front, then they know to kind of steer that to Veterans Court, wherever this case is going to go. But sometimes, for whatever reason, veterans don't disclose that.
But is there like an intake at all that says, are you a veteran, or have you ever served in the
Yes.
armed services or anything like that?
Yes, we have, and again, the State's Attorney's Office will look at some things, but also when lawyers from my office are preparing for a bond hearing, they will interview the individual, and hopefully that person will at that time disclose that they are a veteran. But sometimes, it might take a little while. Even once they get to the trial court, that attorney will even talk to them some more, and sometimes you find out then that person is a veteran. And the great thing about our courts is that those cases can still be transferred to Veterans Court. They can still
great.
be reviewed to see if that person is eligible to be in Veterans Court. And the great thing about the Veterans Court, too, is that we have actual people from the VA. So we have an officer from the VA, a person, a social worker who actually is there that can help this person get their DD-214 and all these things, just to see what level of benefits they have. So it's a full service program, and I am just really glad to be a part of it.
Laura, we are so pleased you're doing the great job you are doing. We're going to come back in a moment, and we're going to talk to Brian Kloss, of course. He's on our advisory board here. And also we're going to take some calls. So those of you, Sharon, Jay, Brenda, hang on. We shall be back after this. It is 4:34 on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON, Saturday, January 26th. This is America's Heroes Group, and we are continuing. I'm Cliff Kelly, of course. We have our studio guest, a special guest, Chief Judge Timothy Evans of the Circuit Court of Cook County. And we have also Attorney Lori A. Roper, who is the Supervisor of and Public Defender. And we are pleased to have one of our regular panelists. We got Ernesto here, And I want to go to Brian because we've been talking. And those of you on the line, please hold. We are definitely going to get to you. Brian, can you hear me okay?
Of course I can.
Good, thank you.
It's hard not to hear you.
Hard not to hear, okay. I hope that's a compliment, Brian.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
my friend. And it's weird. Ernesto's being uncharacteristically quiet. I'm a little dismayed.
He's smart. The Chief Judge is here.
I'm not going to overrule him. I'm not going to overrule him. I'm talking about a great subject like this one.
This is the time. Everybody listen. Brian, help us out. How are things going with the? He's the former director of John Marshall Law School's Veterans Legal Clinic. So, what is going on now, Brian? Tell us.
Well, I think it's interesting. I'd like to echo a couple of things that Chief Judge Evans and Ms. Roper spoke about. One of them was leadership. I mean, the public defender, A.C. Cunningham, and the state's attorney, Ms. Alvarez, PDs and state's attorneys don't agree on a lot of things. They understood that these are people who do not need to go to the penitentiary. If you come back, and a point I would like to make, and it's underscoring what everybody around the table today has said, is military service is honorable service. These are the people who run towards the gunfire on our behalf. This is not some, you came back from the service, you're a victim. Baloney. Most people came back, the vast majority of people come back just fine, better people for being in the military. I can think of people I knew growing up and some of my relatives who, had it not been for the military, they would be in the penitentiary. Mm-hmm. And I think we all know people like that. Sure. But for some folks, there is a problem associated with military service. And quite often, it's something happened to you. You were ill or injured, or you saw something that affected your ability to deal with things. So what we would see coming to us in the vets clinic through the court system is people suffering frequently undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm-hmm. And another thing that we saw in a lot of these folks is an improper characterization of their discharge. They were given what all the listening audience knows is bad paper. Well, if you have bad paper, you are ineligible for VA benefits. So the people most in need come back unable to get those legal services. So where do they end up? They're not going to the shelters if they have PTSD because that environment is not good for them. They are wearing out their friends and family members, and they're ending up living under a viaduct, and we know how long that lasts. So programs like this keep people who are trending towards the periphery. I mean, if you're going into the system, you've probably been locked up for your first felony. You might have some misdemeanors. It's keeping those people who are trending towards the periphery coming back to being productive members of society. The program, and another point I want to make, is this is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. You've got to be committed to your recovery. Mm-hmm. The judges in there are terrific. I don't know who has it. I would ask Lori, you're the chief judge. Who's the judge who has the program now?
Hooks has it in 26 in California. Judge Hood has it in Skokie. Judge Maurice has it in Rolling Meadows. Judge Ryan has it in Maywood. Judge Aguilar has it in Bridgeview. And Judge Pinoza has it in Markham.
Thank you, sir. How fantastic that like the other diversion programs that exist in the Circuit Court of Cook County, that this program is in every single courthouse. The problem is that even though we're required by the changes in the law to have, there was the Vets and Service Members Court Treatment Act, we're supposed to have a veterans court in every circuit in the state, Cliff. And if you look at the map, we're about 89 counties short.
Yep. Isn't that something? Yeah.
So pardon me, 79 counties. I'm sorry, lawyers and math. You know how we are about math. What is that joke? The only joke, the only math a lawyer can do is take away a third. So it needs to expand. The team approach works. And I say this as somebody who was a Cook County State's Attorney for 14 years. I got no joy sending anybody to the penitentiary. Where's the joy in that?
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's a good point. Yeah,
Cliff, one of the things that was brought up, he said that this is no free ride, and that's absolutely true. The programs typically are for 24 months, and these programs are for 24 months with a plea of guilty, and there are drops. We test them. We want to make sure that they are committed to sobriety and recovery and stability in that process. So they go through testing throughout this system. But the best thing is when they complete it, we dismiss the cases against them.
Yes.
There is no record for this veteran. He can get the housing, he can get the employment, he can get his life back together, and he can embrace a second chance. This is a real second chance.
It really is. It really is. How would you get 102 counties here?
Yeah, 102 counties, and we're just one of the 102. Yeah. But we have them everywhere. Yeah. We have them exactly where they're supposed to be.
You got Judge Hooks. You can't get.
And I should rush to say we have. When I became Chief Judge, we had 3 of these problem-solving courts. We now have 20. We're talking, the focus is on veterans courts, but we also have mental health courts and also drug courts. Great. And we have courts for quote-unquote prostitution, and we have a court set aside for restorative justice in North Lawndale. And we'll come back and talk about some of those someday.
I remember being with you. And do you remember that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Great crowd. We had that.
Kickoff.
Yeah. And you were talking about it then. Let's take a caller. Sharon, thank you for holding. You're on WVON 1690, America's Heroes Group. Sharon, are you there? Hello. She wanted to talk about...
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Sharon. Go right ahead.
All right. Hey, Cliff. Hi, everybody on the show today.
Hello.
Hey, bestie.
Hey, bestie. I just wanted to say, you know what, this is a very great program, and it's great to bring awareness to the Veterans Court to the public, because I'm sure a lot of people are not aware of this court. And I remember standing up for some veterans at this court in the very beginning before my bestie became the supervisor of this court. So I'm very glad that this court has continued. But I also want to give a shout-out, Cliff, to you and American Heroes Group for giving us, Montford Point, an opportunity to be on the show, to raise awareness about our Veterans Center, to solicit donations, and just to make the public aware of the legacy of the Montford Point Marines. So great things happened after that show. As you know, we were the recipient of $141,000 from Susanna Mendoza. Yeah. And we are appreciative of it. And although we have not met our goal, we
you're
hope
going to,
that donations continue to pour in, and we do reach our goal. So we are really grateful for the participation and the support, large and small, from everybody who felt that this is a project that's worth saving.
Sharon,
and a lot of the times they mentioned something on there about the suicidal ideations. This is a place for veterans come to be themselves.
Right.
They don't have to worry about who's judging them, who's looking at them, because we know their experience, and we've experienced everything that they've gone through and came out on the good side, and we want our veterans to continue to be healthy and safe out there and know they have a place to go where somebody understands exactly what they're going through.
Sharon, it was so great to have you here, and I'm so glad that things are working out well with America's Heroes Group. Thank you so much for calling in, and we're going to continue to help you, okay?
Cliff, may I add to Sharon's comment?
Yeah, sure. Brian, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but another good thing that Illinois does is we are the first state in the union to have a statewide pro bono network. So I know that some of your listeners are having issues regarding their VA benefits, or maybe they're in a scrape, or they have some sort of legal issue that is impacted by their veteran status. They can call the Illinois Armed Forces Legal Aid Network and get a free attorney to assist them anywhere in the state. And if you permit me, I'll shout out that number.
Go right ahead, Brian. Yes, please.
855-452-3526. And there's great folks there who will find you a volunteer attorney.
855-452-3526.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. That's great. Sharon, thank you so much for calling in. I know it's going to work out. This is great. You know, I am so pleased to know about all of these free services for veterans, and it's a good. This wasn't. When did you start this?
This is in 2009.
Yeah. Okay, that still would have been, yeah. It would have been a little before that, because if I had known about it, I would have done something crazy. It's a joke, folks. It's a joke.
But I have a question. Oh, you have another?
Yeah. Thank you, Consul. Jay, thank you for holding.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Sir.
I wanted to say why some veterans fall so hard is because many of them are really young when they join,
right.
And they're about being honest and upfront, and just try to be right about what they do and being honest. You have to also be perfect, basically, in your whole lifestyle. You got to be disciplined, in shape, all that type of thing, through boot camp. And the reason people exit the military is because they did everything basically right. Not perfect, but they basically did everything right. Mm-hmm. When they come home, I think that's when the problems really start. You know, your family, some of them, they don't appreciate your discipline. You know, they show a different side of themselves, and maybe during the course of being in the military, you lose touch with some of them because you're away so much. And so when you come back, they don't appreciate your discipline. You come back a certain way, and you definitely come back a different person after being in the military. I mean, you about, you know, everything straight and narrow.
I got you, Jay. Thank you so much. It's the changes that happen that cause these sort of things. Yeah. You can go through the military and not even be a combat vet, and it changes you completely. And when you come back home and you expect to see the same things, you know, and it has a big effect on people. Let's go to Brenda. Brenda, thank you for holding on WVON, America's Heroes Group.
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to hear you.
Esteemed guests, I want to thank Justice Timothy Evans for setting up those veterans courts, because I've had veterans in my family.
Great.
My cousin's uncle is a Purple Heart recipient. I have a great nephew who's in the Navy, and my dad's brother, we called him Uncle Poochie. He was in the Korean War and served valiantly in that war. He was a ladies' man. He was so handsome. And he came home and was killed by one of the ladies. That was quite a shock. I also want to thank you so much for setting up the elder court. I've had occasion to use it for about 3 times, and it's so really very helpful. I don't know that many of your listeners, Cliff, know about elder court.
Yeah, I know about it.
For people.
Yeah. Well, the listeners may not. Yeah, I know about it. Yeah.
Well, I can thank Brenda for her kind comments, and the elder court and the resources available for the elders are there at the Daily Center.
Yep.
On the lower level, and all of that is free, as
That's
Cliff
right.
was
It's
emphasizing.
C1116,
Right.
the lower level of the Daily Center. I know it by heart.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
thank
it's
you
a
for using it,
wonderful
and I thank you for
service.
mentioning
Thank you
it.
so very much.
Brenda, thank you. You know, I just think it's great when people call in and say these kind of things, Judge Evans, because a lot of these folks, I mean, you know, that's free for the elders. A lot of places don't have anything for anybody.
That's right. That's right.
You know, except jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great thing. I'm just so happy that we got such a great system. Sal, hi Sal, you're on WVON 1690, America's Heroes Group. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Cliff.
Yes, you're welcome.
You mentioned the Restorative Justice Program in North Lawndale. I am a founding board member of a mentoring program called the North Lawndale Amachi Mentoring Program. The executive director, Dr. Betty Allen Green, was involved with the Restorative Justice Program there from its inception. And it was primarily because our initial focus as mentors was to zero in on the young folk whose parents were incarcerated. As a principal, she found that some of her students who suffered that problem came to school embarrassed, mad, and just in the worst emotional state, oftentimes representing problems to themselves, the classroom, and too often to the entire school. Bringing that program into the community was also encouraged by Judge Raymond Miles, who was a board member of our organization. And it has contributed greatly to what it is that we're trying to do. Beyond that, I would like to share with you where the Dory Miller post, 915, is going. We had a meeting today, and one of our conversations was regarding the decisions regarding oh God, I can't even call his name, the shooting, Van Dyke.
Van Dyke, yeah. Mm-hmm.
As veterans, we are extremely disturbed by this judicial BS.
Yeah, it's not just veterans, Sal.
Well, I know.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, and you know what our AG,
you know what I'm talking
you know
about
what
when
our
I say
AG
as
is
veterans.
talking about too.
Yes,
Yeah.
as veterans. Now, we are extremely concerned with that. Beyond that, we discussed celebrating Dory Miller's 100th birthday, which is going to be October 12th. And we're going to seize, again, the opportunity to focus on Dory Miller by having as grand of a celebration as possible with that, hooking up
great.
with the other Dory Miller organizations around the country, not just veterans posts, but there's so many institutions
Right.
around the country named after Dory Miller. So we're going to be contacting them and keeping the America's Hero program abreast of that. Beyond that, Cliff, I'm having an informal tour of Jesse Brown with Mays Jackson, who said he wanted to see what it was all about. And when that is going to be, I'll let you know a week ahead of time with the hope that you will be able to join us in that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, that's fine. And as far as, you know what we've talked about Dory Miller, Sal.
Yes.
As you listen.
Yes, we have.
You have. And that's something we need to talk more about because, there's really something. I've talked to a couple of people in Congress. We are trying to work something out. We have to be careful because it's our 501c3, but this is something I think we can really push. You know what I'm speaking of.
Of course.
Yeah,
and for where you have to be too careful, let me know, and I can do it.
That's great. I like that name. Sal, I know, Sal, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Cliff,
Yes,
Sal is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Dr. Green was very active in what we've done there in North Lawndale, and she is a wonderful person. We had the first graduation for the defendants going through the North Lawndale Court, the restorative court. And they had all of their charges dismissed as well. And many of them are going on to get jobs. Lori was at our graduation.
Yes.
And I'm just very proud of that. One of the things Sal mentioned was Raymond Miles, and I think Raymond Miles had been a student of Dr. Green's, and unfortunately, Raymond Miles was one of the tragedies. He, as you may recall, was killed.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that Sal mentioned those two there, heroes of our restorative justice process, and thanks, Sal, for doing so.
That's great.
Just a quick,
Counselor,
question.
you wanted to say
If a
something? Right.
case is dismissed, does the defendant then have to go and have it expunged, or is it automatically expunged?
No, it's an expungement process that they embrace, but there would be no objection from the court.
For
and
expungement.
many of our colleagues are willing to take those cases on free.
Okay.
I want to mention also John Kirby, who was the first judge in a veterans court, and Larry Fox, who is our current director. And if the public needs to have more information about this, they could contact Larry Fox, as well as any of us. Of course, I just wanted to mention that we have a person who is dedicated to provide this information in great detail to the veterans and the relatives of the veterans who want to get services for them.
And yes, and Judge Fox, I've worked with Judge Fox on many occasions. I work with him all the time, and I'm going to use that as a segue to announce. I'm happy to announce that I am introducing a pilot program. It's going to be a program dealing with on a national level, Veterans Court. And I will host that program, and I'll probably have Judge Fox on. Larry Fox is he's very involved with all the courts, very knowledgeable. So again, this is going to start in February. Okay. And it's going to be a monthly program, and I'm going to have Judge Evans come back.
I will be happy to be here on a program like that. I love it.
So I want to let the listening audience know that it's coming up in February.
Black History Month.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Great.
One of the things about this court, and somebody mentioned punishment a little earlier, it is therapeutic. It is not punishment oriented. Our idea is to get help for people who need help. The same with the restorative justice process. It's all about health, once again, not punishment. So I'd like to change the focus of our court system, and these are two ways to do it.
You are doing it.
Well, I thank you, Cliff.
You are doing it. We thank you for that.
Yeah.
Brian, I want to thank you so much, sir. I don't normally you're with us, but I know today you couldn't be. But thank you so much for being with us, Brian. Okay.
Oh, and thank you for the privilege of being there. I love hearing me talk, Cliff.
We love hearing you talk too,
there
Brian.
You go, 'cause he's saying some good things. That is great. That is great. Well, I want to thank the Chief Judge for being here, and of course,
thank you, Cliff.
Thank you, and Lori, thank you again for being here, and of course, we have the consular who is always with us. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Cliff.
Yeah,
all right.
Any information, concerns regarding affordable housing, social services, and wellness care, please feel free to call America's Heroes Group at 312-803-2618. We're located at 155 North Wacker Drive, Suite 4250. Thank you so much for watching us live on Facebook. Make sure you hit the Facebook like button at the top of our Facebook page. Therefore, you stay connected and will receive future notifications regarding future shows, events, information, and resources regarding our veterans, armed forces, and their family members. I apologize, I'm struggling with a cold. We are so grateful to our partner, Ms. Dorothy Lavelle, and the Chicago Crusaders articles on veterans, armed forces, and their family members online at www.chicagocrusaders.com. To subscribe to Chicago Crusaders weekly columns with Voices with Cliff Kelly and America's Heroes Group, call Chicago Crusaders at 773-752-27 2500, or send an email to ads@chicagocrusaders.com to request a subscription. Thank you all so much for listening to America's Heroes Group. And thank our techno producer, LaToya. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation. 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.